Welcome everyone. We are going to be looking at the area of regular polygons. And by the end of this video, you should be able to determine the area of any regular polygon and specifically determine the area of an equilateral triangle using a special formula. So the first and foremost important thing for you to do is determine what is a regular polygon. So if you don't know this already, right, let's get our thinking caps on. What does this mean? It means that all sides are congruent and that all angles are congruent. Now, you may be able to very quickly come up with two very common ones of these. One of them was mentioned in the previous slide, an equilateral triangle, and the other one is one you've spent a good amount of time looking at over the course of your educational career, which is the lovely square. Right, and if you think back, right, equilateral triangles, all three angles we know are 60 degrees. The sides all have to be congruent. And with squares, we know that they're 90 degrees. And again, we know that their lengths of their sides have to be congruent, right? So we have the two most important things, right? And the only two things to determine if a polygon is regular or not. We have the sides are congruent and the angles are congruent on both of them. So what does this formula look like? Well, to be honest with you, it's pretty similar and not too incredibly difficult as far as it's that the area equals 1/2 of the apothem times the perimeter. Now you may ask yourself, what the heck is an apothem? I'm pretty sure I know what a perimeter is. Hopefully you can all remember that one, right? It's the distance around the outside of an object. So let's take a look at what an apothem is. Okay, so the apothem joins the center of a figure to the midpoint of any side. So if we look at this, okay, here is a regular hexagon, okay, and an apothem has to be drawn at it has to be a perpendicular segment. So it's going to form a right angle, and it does split this into two congruent parts. Okay, so this would be our apothem. Now our perimeter, well, let's say that this is x. Okay, this one side here is x. So to find our perimeter, we would have to do 6x because there would be 6 of those, okay, as you go around this shape. Now, you can spend with a little bit of time. You can do this with an equilateral triangle, and you're going to figure out that this formula can be simplified down to the square root of 3/4 times a side squared. Okay, those formulas are both found on the formula sheet that you got for last lesson. Okay, so let's take a look at an example. Okay, we have this regular hexagon here. This is a pretty basic one, right? We're given the apothem. Okay, it's labeled at 7 centimeters, and then we're given that each side of this hexagon is 8 centimeters. So to find our area, we have to do 1/2 times that apothem times the perimeter around the outside of this hexagon. So we put in that 7 for the apothem, and then our perimeter is going to be 8 times 6 because there are 6 sides to a hexagon. Okay, so that is 48. So this would give us 1/2 times 7 times 48, which gives us 168 centimeters squared. And that right there is the most basic apothem, okay, type problem that you guys are going to deal with for regular polygons. Okay, another example would be of our equilateral triangle here. So you're told right in the problem it's an equilateral triangle, so you can assume that it is going to be. And then each side is going to be 12 meters. Okay, so again, our equilateral triangle formula was that our area equals the square root of 3 divided by 4 times a side squared. So we know that each side is 12, so we can just simply put in 12 for s. So this is going to be the square root of 3/4 times 12 squared. Well, 12 squared is 144, so that gives us 144 root 3 divided by 4. And that gives us 36 times the square root of 3 square meters. So again, I got that 36 by doing the 144 divided by 4 to get 36 root 3 meters squared, or square meters. Now, obviously, if the problem were to ask us to round to the nearest hundredth or tenth or thousandth or whatever, right, we could just simply enter that into our calculator. 36 times the square root of 3 equals, and then we would round to that place value. So it is important to make sure that you're paying attention to the directions that you're asked. Now, that's it. It was short and sweet and simple this week. Go ahead and get to your quiz for your summative assessment. And I hope that you guys had a great time, had a wonderful week. And yeah, 5 weeks down and 3 more to go.